Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Perfecting PT. We are very lucky to have a highly requested topic today. We are going to be talking about how to establish and grow a cash-based PT practice. And we're lucky enough to have Ray Gorman with us today. You may have seen some of his ads on social media. I don't know as much about Ray as I would like to, other than a quick chat we had a couple weeks ago to set this up. So I'll primarily be letting him introduce himself, and then we'll kind of walk through his process, how it is different from other like systems that you may have seen. I mean, I think I've seen a million PT Biz ads on online, or there's like the Danny Matt where he like throws the book and the book like comes back up to his hand.
There's definitely some big players out there that have been around for a long time that if you're a PT in the outpatient realm, you have seen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to let him just kind of flow. I'm going to be plugging in questions that have been requested just kind of as it seems pertinent. And I think we will all together learn a lot more about the process of establishing a practice. And of course, if this is something that feels like it lines up with how you want to progress, please, obviously, like Ray has a system for a reason, reach out and see if you can start working with him, because that's the point of this podcast, is to connect people with the professionals that are either building lifestyles or having practices that you would like to have. So with that, Ray, I'll let you just kind of cruise and I'll interject if I need to.
Awesome, man. Well, I think it's always helpful to understand how I got here. So I'll go on from that. My story is kind of typical to a lot of PTs. I was very into strength and conditioning. I always knew I kind of wanted to be in the medical field, but like I just didn't really have the dedication in me to go down the MD route and, start my career when I was 32, 33 years old. Plus I took one biochem course and I was like, I think I'm good there. So I had the experience of tearing my ACL while I was in college, and I went through the rehab process, and I was lucky enough to have been a tech at a PT clinic while that happened. So I got to experience that, and I didn't realize it at the time, but that was kind of the first inkling that I had in really recognizing a deficit in the PT space with how the service was provided. And I remember going into the clinic in kind of the later stages and saying like, why am I here? Like, you check in on me, I go through my exercises and then I leave. Like, the reason for that is because like, that's the way that the clinic gets paid. So I didn't realize that at the time, but I was looking back and kind of pocketed that. Go to PT school. I graduate. I end up taking an outpatient orthopedic job at the same clinic that I was working at. And, about a year in, I kind of had this epiphany, is this going to be it? Like, is this going to be my life for the next 30, 40 years? And literally that night I went home, I established an LLC, and I had a conversation with the gym that I was at. And I said, hey, I want to start seeing clients out of here. Is that something that you guys would be open to? They were very gracious. My buddy was the GM at the time, so I got a sweet deal, set up my table on the gym floor, and I started doing my own thing. And I really enjoyed working with the fitness athlete, and I started to see this trend that was like, man, I love working with these clients that are really motivated, that are really invested in their health. But ultimately what I found was like, I kind of created the same problem that I experienced in the outpatient clinic as I was in my cash clinic. It was still trading time for money. And there were some days where I just felt like I was there, like counting reps, babysitting exercises. And like, I just knew that there had to be a different way to kind of execute the process to get an outcome. I had started working with a company that like everything we did was online. And so what that led me to see was like, it led me to see the limitations of the in-person side. It let me see the limitations of the fully online virtual side. And so I kind of said like, well, what if I just started selling my clients what we now call a prescriptive exercise program? Like, what if part of the process was actually this phase of time where like they didn't come into the clinic. They still had access to me. They still had support from me. They still had my clinical decision-making skills, but it didn't require them to be here.
Okay.
So that was kind of like the first inkling of the model. From there, I kind of actually started to wean down on clinical process a little bit. I actually went into more of the business side for the company that I was working with, did more operations, did more business development, more education development, and then eventually parted ways with them. I moved, and so I kind of stopped practicing clinically. And I said, you know what? Like, let me get back to my roots of teaching PTs and coaches as well. We do work with some coaches in our program, but for your podcast, mostly PTs, teaching PTs like a different way of doing things that kind of disrupts the industry a little bit, breaks the norms, and ultimately opens up like this revenue, this financial ceiling. And now, you know, we're like 3-4 years in, and that's kind of where we're at today.
Okay, so it sounds like, and I've had that same question. I have a hard time because, so my current boss and mentor is brilliant. He is one of the original, and for anyone listening, they're sick of hearing me say this because I've probably mentioned it on most podcasts. He's one of the kind of original postdoctoral fellows in orthopedic manual therapy in the country. So these people like the Jim Meadows and the Stanley Parises, like he knows he knows them personally. Like he like became a PT with them. And so he's very hands heavy, but he's also a brilliant clinician exercise wise. But as patients kind of get away from that, because the hands only do so much so far.
Right.
Like at a certain point, like early on, there's generally more manual tapers down, exercise ramps up. And I've ran into that same problem myself where I'm like, okay, like Betty comes in today and Betty is really just hyper mobile. Like she needs to exercise.
She needs strength and conditioning.
Right. And so it's like, and so I have her in and she comes in while there's other people that I may need to focus more clinically on.
Sure.
And so there's this little bit of like, I feel like she's just getting carried through by a tech.
Yep.
I'm trying to problem solve with another patient who requires a little more brain power.
In depth.
Yeah. And it's like, and she leaves and I didn't really have to move anything. I didn't have to massage anything. I didn't have to anything. And I'm like, and part of me feels like, ugh.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure that was worth either. Like, I think I'm a smart person. I think I'm worth seeing, but it's tough. It's tough. So it makes sense that you hit that point and you're like, why am I here? And then as a PT, you're like, why are they here? And so what do I do?
End of the day, I think what you're describing comes down to the fact that there's a mismatch in the problem that we're solving and the service medium by which we solve it.
Okay, sure. Could you pretty explicitly define the problem for anyone listening?
The problem there is Betty, in this case, needs strength and conditioning.
Right.
Okay? Now, once we teach her the skill of how to do that, she probably doesn't need a PT there as a babysitter for the rest of her session. Now, look, that's not to say that PTs out there are just glorified babysitters. I'm just saying for the example that we're saying here, it's like she just needs to learn those skills. So when Betty comes into me, my system would say, well, let's teach Betty how to do the basics fundamentally, how to squat, how to hinge, how to press, how to carry. Now, when we shift so the first problem that we solved was Betty's training IQ, right? We had to get her more educated in the training sense. Now that Betty has a higher training IQ, what Betty actually needs is a program that we can monitor for dose response, for adaptability time, for tissue tolerance, for progression of volume. But I don't actually need Betty to come into the clinic to do that stuff. I need Betty to go to her gym And I need Betty to establish the habit and become autonomous with training, because she's not going to come to PT forever.
Okay.
So the first phase of the problem, teaching Betty the skill of strength training, needs to be solved in person.
Okay.
After that problem is solved, Betty needs more volume. She needs more touch points. She needs more consistency. She needs more efficiency,
Okay.
right? And that's where we'd move her to that virtual mechanism, or what we call a prescriptive exercise program.
Okay, got it. So, and what we've talked about this previously, it sounds like the big thing that you are both doing and not doing, you are not trying to necessarily make people set up a brick and mortar building and grow it to multiple clinics and build this large business. Like if I understand right, you're really looking for the person that's like, I want to be independent. I want to do my thing. I want to make as much money as possible doing what I want to do without having an enormous amount of overhead or liability and physical structures and personnel.
I think a lot of people think that brick and mortar, multiple location, multiple therapists is a grass is greener situation, and it's all sunshine and rainbows from there.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, like, there's a lot of headaches that come along with that.
Sure.
So generally, what we are, the client that we generally work with, they want to still treat. They want to do a good job with their clients. They don't necessarily want multiple clinics, 10 clinicians. Like, there's companies that can help you do that better than we can.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of those people and that's your goal, like, we'll happily say, hey, go talk with so-and-so. That's what they do. Like, now there's a lot of people that start out with us who don't want that and then evolve into wanting that, but at least they have that skill set. But what our model really allows for is, our model allows for removing the ceiling that exists with traditional cash-based mechanisms, traditional PT mechanisms, because you can only see so many clients in a day. Even if you go up to 10 hours a day, which in my opinion would be crazy in a one-on-one cash setting, but people do it, you can only see so many clients in a day. So then how do you make more money? You either raise your prices, you hire more people, or you change your process. We can help you raise your prices, and we can help you change your process, right? So we call it kind of this scale by process mechanism.
Okay. So I guess let's, I mean, I've never really had a podcast about this. So let me organize my thoughts for a second. So I guess let's start out first for anyone listening and still with us. We hope you're still with us. This is going to be a great conversation. And it already has been, but let's start with, what type of providers do you think your model works best for, as far as maybe patient population?
Yeah.
Maybe patient population, maybe, like, I'm not sure if income, all income's variable. Let's talk about patient population. So let's say, what type of clinician do you think your process works best for?
I'd say generally we work with people who kind of identify as that, like, performance provider, right?
Okay.
They want to work with people that are healthy and active. Like, they are runners, they're power lifters, they're Olympic weightlifters, they're CrossFitters, they're field athletes. They're people who are going to require or want to get back to doing an activity that is kind of like part of their identity, right?
Sure.
I think when somebody is physically fit, physically active, that becomes a part of their identity. There's a deep rooted why to, becoming that person that they've committed to. So a lot of our clients generally, they want to, quote unquote, bridge the gap between rehab to performance. And a lot of times for me, like, I always thought that was like this esoteric thing. Like, what did that actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, we kind of have this paradox that happens in the traditional rehab process, that as we get people closer to performance, the volume of therapeutic touch points goes down because they're feeling better.
Sure.
But in reality, the volume of touch points actually needs to go up, because we need to be able to accumulate more volume, more touch points in that week that are overseen by the PT.
Sure.
So I really found that that problem was best solved with that virtual mechanism. So the reason why this, to circle back, the reason why this model works so well for that individual is because those people are going into environments where they're going to be able to do those things.
Sure.
They're going to be able to go in and hang from a gymnastics bar, get under a squat rack, get in a pool, like get on a pickleball court, right? Like it works really well for that healthy, active population. It's not going to work great for, a lot of the general public that is coming in through the traditional medical pipeline, where a lot of chronic disease, a lot of comorbidities, like some of those people just need to be in a traditional clinic just to kind of get some movement in, and that's why we are never saying traditional PT is bad and cash PT is good. It's like they both need to be designed for the right consumer.
Sure. Could you define therapeutic touch points?
Yeah, so I look at a touch point as just an interaction with the provider.
Okay.
So, like for example, if you and I were working together in a cash-based setting, I may see you for once a week for 4 weeks, once every 2 weeks for 4 weeks, and then once a month. So we're only having, let's call it 10 touch points.
Okay.
Now, again, what our model, what we call the performance provider growth model, allows for is, as those in-person synchronous touch points are weaning down, our asynchronous touch points are ramping up. So you're not having this 4-week period of time or this 2-week period of time where we're not interacting. We're maybe interacting on a daily or every other day basis. And so when it comes to you confidently making a decision in the gym, confidently making a decision in your run club of what pace you should go, confidently making a decision of how many pickleball games your client should play, we can actually now dictate that. We can
Okay.
actually make a decision that says like, hey, we're not to the point of getting back to you playing pickleball for 5 hours.
Sure.
Maybe 2, maybe
Mm-hmm.
1.5, maybe 4 games. That's really what I mean with those touch points is we can manufacture those touch points with something like the programming software that we use to deliver our program to the client.
Got it. So in a nutshell, so far, you're really looking for PTs who want to treat active people. These
Mm-hmm.
aren't for a lot of these traditional PT referred people from physicians that really need to be supervised to be active. These are
Correct.
people who want to be active on their own. They want to pursue sport, hiking, active lifestyles.
Recreational fitness, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Perfect.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there is, at least in some part, you will need a physical place to see patients.
So this is a big misconception of maybe how we originally positioned our messaging, early on in our journey.
Sure.
I kind of became known as like the digital guy, like the virtual
Okay.
guy. And we used to help people build virtual businesses. We don't anymore. I just found that like a lot of people want the dream, but it takes a really long time to get the outcome.
Sure.
So, the people that do best in our program are ones
Mhm.
that can set up in a physical location. It's generally, going into somewhere where you can build off of existing infrastructure, like a gym, like a
Okay.
boutique fitness space. And then we teach them first the foundational skills of running an in-person business, but we then give them the skill of the kind of the hockey stick effect of how they can make more money in less time with that virtual offer once we have the basics of the in-person business established. So it's
Okay.
really a blended model.
Sure. So maybe it would be helpful because I have personally, I've watched a lot of videos where I'm like, I watch it, I listen to it, and I'm like, wow, everything sounded real good. And then I get to the end of the conversation, I'm like, what did I actually learn from that conversation?
Sure.
And and so maybe if we could, and this is like very hypothetical, I'm not starting a cash-based business. I'm not expecting you to tell me all your secrets. But why don't we walk through as if I am someone that's interacting with you, maybe for like 5 or 10 minutes, and let's kind of hypothetically create a timeline and some interactions that would kind of show what joining or being a part of Engage movement or using your services would look like. So I'm Nate. I have a buddy, let's say Raul, because he is a buddy of mine, and he happens to own or be managers over a bunch of gyms.
Yep.
I say, Ray, I've been wanting to start a practice. I've already got a guy. He's already said I can, pay X amount of dollars, and I'm going to practice out of his space.
Yep.
And that's all I have. And I'm like, Ray, how are you going to help me?
Beautiful.
Where do we start?
One of the hardest parts is over. You have an operating location. You're already ahead of the curve.
Okay.
I'll preface this by saying that, part of the reason why people get to these end of these conversations and then don't know what to do is people don't actually pay for information. They don't pay us for the information that we provide. They pay us for the help implementing, right?
Right.
So now I get to say to you, okay, Nate, great. You've got an operating location with Raul. The first things that we kind of need to make sure, that you've got your, kind of your legalities covered. Now, we do not provide legal advice, but you need some sort of entity created if you want to separate yourself from your personal assets.
Okay. So I need some type of LLC
or PLLC, depending on your state.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
So we got to get that set up. We've got to get you depending on how your insurance job is set up, we got to get you a type 2 NPI.
So this is going to happen as a transition from my full-time job. It's not just going to jump.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm glad that you said that, because I understand that everybody's financial situation, risk tolerance doesn't just allow them to say, hey, Ray, tomorrow, like, cool, I sign up with you. Tomorrow, I'm going to go quit my job. In most cases, like, I don't recommend that, right?
Sure.
We create a transition plan, and we're going to help you have the conversation with your employer so that, one, like, you don't leave them high and dry, because we understand what it's like owning a business and having somebody leave. So we're going to create a transition plan. Now, does that always work out as we think it's going to work out? It doesn't.
Probably not. Yeah.
But we're going to help you create a transition plan. We're going to help you get to a point where you're making a couple $1,000s a month. And then we're going to come to a crossroad of a decision.
Okay.
And the crossroad of a decision is going to be that you're not quite making enough money in your side business to leave your full-time job, but you don't have enough time to ever make enough money in your side business because your full-time job is monopolizing it.
Sure.
So at some point we have to take this leap.
Sure.
Right. And we have to have the conversation of, hey, can we work down to part-time? Can we work down to PRN? Can we get a PRN job that is more flexible, like home health, skilled nursing? Because outpatient is the setting that everybody wants to be in.
Sure.
But it's the setting that's the hardest to be flexible with your schedule with.
Sure.
Right. So now we've got an operating location for you. We've got a type 2 NPI that's tied to your entity, your LLC, let's say. Okay. We're going to help you set your prices. We're going to teach you how to find your ideal client, where your client is. We're going to teach you basic sales, right? And then we're going to help you get your first 5 clients just so you can prove to yourself that you can do this.
Sure.
And those first 5 clients, it's going to be more important that we bring them in and get them going than it is like charging them full price. So maybe we have like a startup special, right? Let's get those clients in. Let's make the real value for the business, the proof of concept, the review, the testimonial, and just get you some confidence that like this can be a real thing.
Sure. So those 5, I'm assuming are happening while, so in this specific case, I'm working at my job. I'm getting these 5 clients while I'm still working at my job, so that it kind of takes away some of that risk. Because like you said, some people are very risk averse. Some people are not. And so it's like, I've already got a cash base, or not a cash base, but a clientele base of 5. What is stopping me from simply repeating that to get 5 more and then 5 more? And so, okay, so you kind of establish for yourself and others a proof of concept, and you get rolling.
Yep.
I'm assuming that, so this will bring up a couple concerns that I'll ask for people. What do they do about, so they're going to need some type of malpractice insurance.
Yep.
Okay. And a lot of people wonder, what do I do about health benefits?
Good question. You make enough money that you don't have to worry about your provider giving you health insurance. I know that that's kind of a cop-out answer, but like that's the reality, right? Like,
Sure.
like, look, I'm married. My wife is a teacher at a private school, so like they don't the benefits for us being married like weren't great for me to even go on her health insurance. I pay like $350 a month for my health insurance. Trust me, it's worth paying the $350 a month rather than going and getting a job for me.
Sure.
Right? Like my
Sure.
upside is just uncapped on that like I don't even think about that. But it is a good question, it's a good concern. Most people that we are working with are also younger in the field, healthy, active individuals because they want to treat somebody that's kind of like them, right?
Sure.
So like they can go on to a high deductible plan. They can go on to something that like they're not using their, and I've gone to the doctor like once in the last 4 years.
Sure.
Like it's the insurance is there in case I need insurance.
Right. When
Right?
if something goes bad or a
Mhm.
baby or something like that.
For sure. So we obviously, and like I said, I mean, I have become more risk tolerant over my years as a business owner, as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
But when I started my practice, I wasn't there,
Sure.
right? I wasn't there. I did a lot of things the safe way.
Mhm.
And what I've realized now was like, that was just because I didn't really understand what was possible for myself. I
Mhm.
didn't really understand what would happen if I went all in on myself. And I think that's the biggest thing that kind of holds people back. But, you know, if we're helping somebody, let's say that the average clinician makes, you know, 80 grand a year.
Mhm.
Okay. What is that? Like 6,500 a month. If we're helping people make $10,000-$15,000 a month, what's the $350 that you're going to have to pay for health insurance going to be in the long run?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, and I agree. I would consider myself more risk tolerant as well. Um, I think if you ask my wife, she'd say I'm highly risk tolerant. um, so okay, so that's good to know. So I know that. So let's say I have transitioned. I'm in. I am all
Mhm.
in for what I'm committing to making my life what I can do and dedicating my efforts to seeing what I can become. And now we're just you and me. I'm in Raul's gym. I'm getting after it. I know a couple people are concerned with, they're like, that sounds good. It sounds like what I
Mhm.
want to do. They're like, I have no business experience. PT school didn't teach me entrepreneurial
Right.
skills. It's not necessarily my natural personality to pursue those types of things, but I feel stuck in my job. Like how, so they're wondering, how do I attain these skills? And the short answer may be, it's going to be real uncomfy. It's going to
Mhm.
suck for a little bit, but you have to focus on your end goal of who you want to be. But
Yes.
yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
There was also a point in time where you didn't know how to be a physical therapist.
Sure.
How did you figure that out? There was also a time where you didn't feel confident doing an eval.
Hmm.
Now, can you do them in your sleep? You know, so like you have to continue, and this is what I talk about, that implementation piece. Like you can't just consume content. You have to consume content and then go put it into action and then bring back to me what happened.
Sure.
Because I can only coach you. I can't coach you on all the what ifs.
Right.
I can only coach you on the what happened and what can we do to try to get a different outcome.
Hmm.
And so that I think is the biggest thing that, you know, we generally see this shift when people are doing something on their own and they're stuck. The moment that they invest with us and they invest in themselves, something shifts because now they're pot committed, right? So it's like, hey, if I'm going to get a return on my investment, I have to go do the thing. Just like your patients, if they want a result from physical therapy, they have to do the work.
Right.
So what we do is we really just kind of structure a game plan where it's like, okay, well, what's the thing that you don't want to do? Everybody wants to like email and send DMs to gyms and clients. No, you got to go in. You got to go in or you're going to get ignored. So now you've got to go in. You've got to make yourself part of the community. You've got to get to know everybody in the facility. You've got to befriend all the trainers, the coaches, give them free evaluations, give them discounted treatment, take care of them so that they understand what makes you different than the traditional PT clinic down the road. Because a lot of the consumer doesn't know.
Right. So do you mean in this hypothetical example, are you saying that I need to, in this gym space I'm renting, I need to get to know the trainers I'm working with, or you're saying I need to go market to other gyms and other trainers at other locations?
Generally both, right?
Okay.
Because there's just very rarely is there enough volume of injured people in one gym.
Sure.
If you find that, I mean, don't leave, but also like there's probably something weird
there's
culturally.
some issues going on.
Yeah. There's something weird going on in the gym. So like a general rule of thumb, these numbers are totally made up, but it's a good framework. I generally recommend about 500 clients, 500 potential clients for one full-time therapist. That would be 20 to 25 hours per week.
Okay. 20 to 25 hours in the gym. The rest will be asynchronous.
That will be in the clinic treating clients. Like if I want to get a full caseload, it's generally going to come from a pool of about 500 people. Because again, my volume is going to be relatively low, right?
Okay.
So now if you're only going to be treating, 12 hours, 10 hours a week, you need half of that. But it gives people a concept to say like, hey, Nate, like how big is your gym? Oh, it's 150 people. Okay, cool. Well, I need to go find 3 more gyms that are about 150 people, right? So it helps to understand like what you need to do to understand your ecosystem of how many clients you need, how many potential clients you need to be able to fill a caseload.
Sure. So I know this was a hypothetical example. Do you normally tell people that same number, about 500? Okay. So yeah, so you're going to need a pool, not 500 people, meaning if you go to 5 gyms and each gym has 100 members,
bingo.
Like that's
a good starting point.
A good starting point. If you're looking to work 20 to 25 hours per week in clinic and then manage the rest asynchronously.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Yep. And most of our clients, their kind of full clinical day is around 4 to 6 hours. And then the rest is all being managed asynchronously.
Okay. So I'll kind of recap to where we are and then we'll keep going. So it sounds like first things first, I need a place to be. And if you're looking for a place to be, you can't send DMs. You can't send texts. You need to go to places. Yeah, you need to go into these places that you're like, man, I would love to set up some space there. You need to go in, like meet some people and see if you can't get some space. So once you have space, that's a big thing. You will keep your other job unless you are incredibly risk tolerant and are just going to drop it all and go for the other one, go for the cash-based business. You'll build a clientele of about 5 people as proof of concept. You'll establish an LLC. You'll get some malpractice insurance. They will be receiving coaching from you. And then at a certain point, you're going to hit a time where you're like, I'm making some money. You had mentioned maybe a couple $1,000s a month you're doing through the cash-based business. But now the demand on your time from the clinic is now taking more time than it's worth. And you're not going to grow more cash-based if you continue to give the time you are to the clinic. So you're going to you will have to either drop either progressively or terminate the position at the clinic to go primarily for cash-based. And you are really going to look to market to essentially a total pool of minimum 500 people so that you can transition to 20 to 25 hours per week in clinic, with what you say being most clinicians are doing 4 to 6 hours per day. And it sounds like if you're concerned about health insurance, that That's not you ask a millionaire how much they're concerned about health insurance. They say none, because
Right.
they will just pay for it. So
Because they can afford it. Right.
right. So health insurance right now, for anyone who's like, what if my wife and I are young, we're looking to have kids in the next couple years, what do I do? You can obviously contract your own health insurance like Ray has. You will just have a deductible you pay per month, and
Yep.
any premiums you deal with. So that's a health insurance issue. And so now we've established a client base of 500 people. And for anyone wondering, like, I don't have marketing skills, I don't have business skills, that's what Ray will teach you. It won't just be consume content and you will be good at it. You will suck at it.
Yep.
And it will be rough, but it's like, you're not going to know how it will go until you do it, because hypotheticals will not help. And so now we're at this point where I have a business. I am primarily there, if maybe doing a little PRN to supplement that on the side. I've marketed. I am continuing to learn marketing from Ray and his group. So why don't you tell me a little bit more? So that makes sense as far as the clinic. Now I've got people coming in.
Yeah.
I'm working in my own space, 4 to 6 hours a day. That's going good. Where are we going from here? Because it sounds like we haven't got to the digital side yet.
Well, and one thing I'll say too on kind of the transition exercise that we take people through is,
Sure.
I'll kind of ask them, like, let's say that they're making, what did we say? They were $6,500 a month at their job, and now let's just say that they're making $2,500 a month in their cash business.
Right.
Okay? I'll ask them, if you had,
meaning at the same time.
At the same time, right?
Right, because they haven't left the other job yet.
Correct.
Okay.
But now we're at this crossroad of like that time versus investment in your business. If you had 40 hours per week, right now you're working, let's say 10 hours on the side. If you had 40 more hours per week, could you make another $4,000 in a month? And they'll generally like sit there for a second. And I'm like, 40 hours, let's just call it times 4. 160 hours. Could you figure out how to make another $4,000? Could you sell 2 more people into plans of care? And they're like, yes. Great. Then you just replaced 160 hours of work into potentially 2 hours. Like, so when you start to understand that concept, when you start to make this shift from my job is something that makes me money to my job is something that is costing me money.
Sure.
That is when you really start to turn on the afterburners and get after it in your business.
Sure. So that I didn't fully understand that example. So let's say 160 hours, I need to make $4,000.
Yep.
So I guess this gets into how generally you structure payment plans. Are you teaching people to do a monthly subscription, a per session cost, a packaged deal over the next number of months? How do you what does your program coach people to do?
Generally, it's going to be a combination of a package, right?
Okay.
Because that gets us the cash up front. It gives us
of so many sessions.
Correct.
Okay.
So many sessions. And then I like to sell it. I like to sell the digital side, the prescriptive exercise program, as recurring revenue. So I have both facets in my business. Now, do we have some people that package it all together? Sure. And they sell a bigger package with a different amount of time. But basically, the concept that I'm trying to get them to buy into is, right now you're trading 160 hours, right? 40 hours a week times 4 weeks for $6,500.
Sure.
But you already have $2,500 existing. And you
so you need $4,000.
You only need $4,000.
Right.
So in that 160 hours, if you just did what you're doing now to make the 2,500 in 10 hours per week,
sure,
do you think you'd figure it out?
It would. The answer would appear to be yes.
Exactly. So we just get them to see that, like, the thing that they need to do isn't actually as far away as they think it is.
Because they've already done part of it. They just have to repeat it.
They're already a third of the way there. Exactly.
Okay. Got it. So maybe this is different from person to person. If I was your client, because it sounds so, let me see if I have any other questions. I know people ask, what do I do? So I am treating patients already while I have a job. What am I doing to document that in a HIPAA secure way? Is that
Sure.
something you provide, or is it something
We
I will have to buy?
we don't provide any EMRs. Like we don't tie anybody into any software that they have to pay us to use on the front end. We do
Sure.
have some back end stuff that we have available that we build out.
Hmm.
But the we have a lot of people that use PT Everywhere, so they will
Okay.
sign on with PT Everywhere and they will get everything set up. You can actually also document on Google Docs. You can sign what's called a BAA. I think it's a business associate agreement, and that kind of now creates the HIPAA compliance that you need there. So a lot of
Okay.
our clients kind of start there and then they just collect money on their own. When you move into a more curated solution like an EMR, like I said, like PT Everywhere, for example, you have
Hmm.
all that housed: billing, packages, sessions, scheduling, HIPAA compliance, all that is kind of locked in there. But there's ways that you can do it with very minimal cost.
Got it. So it sounds so. Would I need to make a so in my case, I have my personal like Gmail, and
Mm-hmm.
then I also have a Perfecting PT Gmail. They would need a business Gmail with a separate Google Drive that they would sign this BAA to access.
That'd be the best practice. That'd be the
Oh,
best practice.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
brought up a couple things I hadn't thought about. Um, do you guys so we're looking at like billing?
Mm-hmm.
We already talked about documentation, and we also talked about scheduling. Scheduling is not that bad. I can just put in, oh, I have Betty coming in at
Correct.
10. Um,
Correct.
is billing just they pay you through Venmo? Do you guys provide a billing platform?
We provide recommendations, right?
Okay,
I
got it.
mean, look,
For
like
whatever fits people's needs most.
consumer business to consumer stuff is pretty easy now with Stripe and Square.
Sure.
So those are very easy to set up.
Hmm.
Could you use a Venmo, a Zelle option? Absolutely. Like you could take money like that. There's nothing wrong with that. I
Okay.
just think that for some people, like they may want to use a card. And you can also take HSA. Like you can also take HSA and FSA when you're set up correctly for that stuff because you're providing a medical service, right?
Oh, interesting. So people can use their HSA card to pay for your packages.
Yep, 100%.
Oh, brilliant.
And keep in mind too, I this may seem like the most obvious thing ever, but I've had clients that were very adverse to this. You have to collect the money. Like you have to
Oh,
have
right. Right.
the
Quit your
uncomfortable
job.
thing and you have to collect the money. So please stop playing the martyr
Hmm.
and stop trying to be the good guy. You've got a business to build, you got a family to take care of. Collect the money and don't feel weird about it. It is not a weird exchange. It's only weird because it's the first time that you've ever done it.
Sure. Okay, great. So, I guess that leads me to my other question. What are generally the packages that your company teaches people to sell?
Yeah. So we in most cases,
Hmm.
we do an eval that leads into a decision of either a starting point of a 6 or a 10 pack,
Okay,
just to kind of standardize it, right?
got it.
6 or 10. And then obviously we will layer on the prescriptive exercise program if we feel it's needed. So, we try to get our clients to like a minimum for that 10 pack of $150 a session. I personally like to structure things where the eval is the highest cost. And then the subsequent follow up visits after that are a less of an investment. I
Right.
think if you can sell them into the eval, that's the hardest sale. I think the rest, if you have a really solid process, it should be pretty easy to enroll them into a package. And we can then break that up into, some digestible chunks, so long as you have sessions um, as quote unquote collateral, right? Like I don't want somebody to service the sessions over 4 months, but be paying me over 6 months. There just becomes a risk there.
I'm not sure I understand that.
So, like for example, let's say I'm going to sell you 10 sessions,
Great.
and
Take my
we're
money.
going to use those over the next 3 months. Like
Okay.
I ideally at that point, I want the maximum amount of breakup for those sessions for that package to be 3. I don't want it to be that you pay me, X amount per month for 6 months when we're already done working together.
Right. So you want the amount they pay. So let's say it's a 10 pack. Do you have a standard cost you teach people to charge for a 10 pack?
Let's just call it
Let's say for starting.
$1,500. Yeah, let's say
Okay.
$1,500,
$1,500
right?
to start, 150 a
Yeah.
session. Got it.
So I would say the most that we'd want to break that up is over 3 months. So
Right.
$500 a
$500
month
a
for
month.
3 months. I wouldn't want to do something where it was $250 a month for 6 months and I was done treating you 3 months ago.
Right.
Right?
Because then you're dependent on them paying you when you're not having touch points.
You just don't want to be chasing money. You don't want to be chasing money, right? You don't want an issue with they got a new credit card and now you got to update the file. Like we want to make sure that we have those interactions to kind of work with them.
Sure.
Now, for me, like I don't like to sell people things that they don't need.
Sure.
Right? Like so if somebody comes in and let's say it was 10 sessions, let's say that my standard rate is $200 a session, but because you bought a package, you're going to get $150 a session. I don't like to do stuff where it's like, hey, Nate, you only need 2 more sessions. So it's going to be $200 because now you didn't buy at the package rate. My
Right.
general rule of thumb, what we teach is we say, just charge that person $150 a session. Like you're going to do good by the client. You're
Right.
going to get 20% more lifetime value on what you thought you were going to get in the first place. You don't need to upsell them into 6 when they only need 2.
Right.
So
they buy
yeah,
an
so we're
initial
just giving
package.
that.
So they buy an initial package for 6. And so it doesn't. So I guess this brings up another question because you had talked about like collect the money up front. Don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So when you talk about you're going to see them over 3 months, you guys don't teach them to pay $1,500 right now. You have 6 sessions. We'll plan them out. We'll use them whenever you want.
Well, we start there. We
Oh,
start there, but we teach them, for lack of a better term, a negotiating process. We
got it.
teach them how to overcome what I would call there like a logistical financial barrier. I could do this. I just can't give you $1,500 right now. Cool.
Right.
No big deal. Right. We teach them a process of breaking that up. In a perfect world, I want somebody to pay in full up front. Like that's the best option.
Sure.
1, it shows that they're committed to the process. 2, we don't have to worry about life getting in the way for future financial commitments. And 3, like the awkward conversation of money is done.
Right.
Like that's the best case scenario. I also don't want the big number up front to be a restriction to me collecting the lifetime value over the course of, let's say, 3 months. So I'm completely fine breaking that up over 3 months.
Yeah. Or more or less.
Exactly. So we will teach them to ask. Well, let's say that we were able to kind of break this up in some way. Like, Nate, what would just work best for you? And if you say, oh, could we do this in 2 payments over 30 days? Sure. Well, if we could break it up into 3, if I can make it your idea, it's going to be way less resistant than if it's my suggestion.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's helpful. So we'll kind of recap to where we are. So we've got a clientele. Now we're looking at selling packages and eval. So up front, you may be giving away evals for free because you need patients. And
generally not free, but we're okay with 5 discounted. Free we will do free for trainers and coaches though.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be your ecosystem. Yeah.
Okay, right. Because though essentially trainers. So for anyone who asks me, they're like, "Am I going to have to go talk to doctors?" It sounds like the people that interact most often with these healthy, fit people that are going to see them and they're like, "Oh, I got a shoulder injury." They're healthy people. They're not going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I got to go to the doctor." They're going to tell their trainer. They're going to tell their friend who may have a trainer. They're going to be at the gym. So the gym personnel is going to be a primary referral source to your business.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, got it. And so you may, to get on the good side and show how much better you are than everyone else, give free evals. That was a joke, in case anyone was wondering. You may give free evals to trainers, coaches, gym owners, so that they can kind of get a little taste. But then when a patient comes, they will pay cash for an eval up front.
Yep.
It will be the most expensive cost they have. And then treatments will be tapered and they will be in packages. generally Ray's group, it sounds like you guys want to do 6 to 10.
Yep.
You have a rate that, let's say your average rate is 200, but you sold a package of 10 for $150. And let's say you end those 10 and you're like, well, you need 2 more. Well, in that case, this group's not going to be like, well, now you owe me $400 for 2 more. No, you're going to charge $300 as if it was packaged. The person will be grateful. You'll still be making way more money than you would otherwise. And everyone gets to move along happily. Yep. EMRs are, it sounds like Google Docs is an option. PT Everywhere is an option. And I know someone had asked me about CEUs. Going back to the insurance problem, if you have $1 bajillion, you don't worry about how much a CEU course costs.
Yes.
So it sounds like a lot of the things people are concerned about now, like who's going to pay for my CEUs? Who's going to pay for my insurance? How am I going to get an EMR? Like if you're making a lot of money, those are non-issues because you have the means to pay for those things. So it sounds like it makes a lot of sense so far. You get a business, you get insurance and all that jazz. You get up and running. You're selling packages. You've marketed to where you have at least an ecosystem of at least 500 people you're treating. Why don't we get into when that transitions to digital? Because I know we're coming up on about an hour, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I appreciate.
I'm all good. We can go as long as we need here.
So why don't we transition to the digital side?
Yeah.
And how that comes into, because it sounds like the package is in-person visits.
Correct.
And the digital side is programs that they're paying for on a recurring basis.
So here's what I've found.
Okay.
Is the digital side comes into play the fastest for the people who have the most desire for freedom and flexibility away from an in-person schedule.
Okay.
So for me, the way that I ran my model when I was practicing clinically, 85 to 90% of my clients went directly into a blended option. In-person visits and the virtual service start today.
Okay. So maybe I don't understand what the virtual service is.
The prescriptive exercise program. Right.
Right. But I'm not sure I understand, because in my head, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. Because I assumed it would be, hey, I've seen you for 6 sessions, and now I'm going to give you a prescriptive exercise program that you will pay for. So
that was probably 10% of my clientele.
Got it.
Good. So remember, like what I kind of mentioned was there's this training IQ component. And there is this severity and acuity component, right? Like how acute is this person's injury? If it's hot, angry, irritated, I'm not going to put that client on a virtual offer. Sure. I need to make too much real-time feedback decision making.
Sure.
But if it's something that's chronic that they're training on and I need to see them move for X amount of sessions, but I can also start loading them in ways that I feel really confident loading, I'm going to start both service mechanisms at the same time, right? So it would not be uncommon that you would come in for an eval. Let's say you had low back pain with deadlifting.
Sure.
I'm going to say, hey, Nate, I'd recommend that we do 10 sessions that will space out over the course of the next 3 months. I'd also like to start what we call a prescriptive exercise program today. What that's going to allow us to do is that's going to allow you to have access to me in between our sessions. I'm also going to program probably like 2 to 3 workouts for you to just start reintegrating some hinging into your program, start monitoring your low back. And if any workouts come up that you kind of need modifications for, you can send those over to me as well. So the beauty of the prescriptive exercise program is that its value doesn't just lie in the exercises that I'm writing. Its value lies in the service that I'm providing, the access that you have to me, the exercise moderation concepts, the decision-making factors. So for me, I start that right away.
Sure. So does that mean when patients come into the clinic, they are not exercising in clinic?
No, it means that in the clinic, we are doing things that require us to have feedback that we want in real time. So for example, maybe I am trialing you on a new range of motion that we haven't built resilience and capacity for. And I
Okay.
want to see, like, how do you, for the last 2 weeks, we've been pulling from 6-inch risers for your deadlift. I want to see how you do with 2 inches. Okay, you did good with 2 inches. Maybe I just want to see how you do from the floor.
Okay.
Or I'm going to move you from, more static exercises to more plyometric exercises. And I actually want to, in real time, see how you're stabilizing, what your limb is doing. Or maybe I'm bringing you in to do some return to sport testing, single hop tests, triple hop tests. Like, that's what we're going to be doing with those in-person sessions. Manual therapy to start. Most of my clients that would come in would get manual therapy. I feel like if I went to see a physical therapist, I'd want to get manual therapy. Like, otherwise I'm just going to go do it on my own.
Sure.
So that was kind of what we would be doing. It's probably about 30 minutes manual therapy, 15 minutes manual therapy, 20, 30 minutes in the gym, kind of taking advantage of that window of training where pain is decreased. And then the next, 10, 15 minutes is kind of game planning what things are going to look like between now and that next session. And then we're buffering up that in between with the prescriptive exercise program.
Got it. So it sounds like but beyond manual therapy, you're really having in-clinic sessions to help you make clinical decisions about progressions.
Bingo. Nailed
So
it.
you're saying, like, right now you're doing this. It's like, and I perceive that with the steps I want to take next in your plan, there may be some hiccups that I want to be present to see.
Yeah.
And it's
Yep,
like, so I want you to
exactly.
come in, because if it's like, oh,
Exactly.
I'm going to take you from a clamshell to a sideline hip abduction. It's like, I don't need to see you for that. I need to tell you.
Yep.
It's like, so essentially you're using your clinical decision-making to say, how irritable will this person be with the changes I want to make? And do I need to see them to feel most comfortable changing the program we're doing?
Bingo.
Okay.
Bingo.
And it sounds like, for anyone listening, the structure will be hour sessions. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming they're one-on-one in clinic.
Yeah, 45 minutes to an hour, whatever is kind of preferential for the person.
Okay.
One of the things that you said, like, yes, there are times where we go 6 sessions into PEP. For
What
people
is
who try to
PEP?
prescriptive exercise
Oh,
program,
got it.
what we call the virtual offer. Thank you for clarifying that, though. One of the biggest problems that we see when people are trying to implement this themselves is that they're trying to implement it too late, right? And so
Okay.
when the client feels better, the psychological gap for them of where they are to where they want to be is small,
Mm-hmm.
right? In
Yeah.
sales, we
Yeah.
talk
When the
about this
pain goes
concept of
down, they feel like they're already right there.
correct.
Okay.
So now we're asking them to make another buying decision when they don't actually think the problem exists in the same magnitude anymore.
Yeah. They're like, I'm pretty much better. Why would I pay for more?
Now, you and I
Yeah.
know that beyond getting out of pain, there's another problem that exists,
Mm-hmm.
and that's matching the gap of tissue readiness with psychological readiness.
Sure.
That's that workload rebuilding process.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why for me, the sooner you can sell the PEP, the better I think the outcome that you get,
Okay.
because you're not having to make another sale where the perception of the problem is relatively low.
Sure. Sure. Just jotting that down.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, and this is my ignorance, and I'm sure a lot of people will probably identify with it. It's like, I'm used to constantly, let's go back to Betty. Betty comes
Mhm.
in, Betty's got pain. I see Betty first session, I'm watching her. I see Betty second session, I'm watching her. And I naturally have developed a tendency of babysitting. And
Mhm.
I almost get anxious if I don't babysit, because I don't know. Maybe someone else would know, but I do. It happened
You
today.
wanna deliver value. You
Right.
wanna be valuable. You want Betty to have a good outcome, right?
Right.
You
And part
care.
of that, yeah, and part of that is me feeling like I have to be hovering to provide the
Yes.
highest value.
Yes.
So how do you balance that? And I'm sure this is what your program's about. So don't tell me any secrets that, people should be paying for. But if I'm struggling with that,
Mhm.
how do I get them on a program that is asynchronous and it's out of my hands at the same time?
You have to understand that your time with Betty isn't what makes you valuable.
Got it.
It's your decision-making process, it's your brain, it's your management of Betty that's valuable.
Okay.
So, like, if you have written a good program for Betty and you've constructed it and your tech is competent at executing it,
Hmm.
I wouldn't feel bad doing that because you've already given Betty what she needs to feel better. You
Sure.
don't have to be the one, you don't have to be trading your time with Betty, right? So
Got it.
like me, when somebody would come into my clinic with, let's say, patellar tendinopathy, range of motion is great. Like
Hmm.
I'm not really going to be doing any manual therapy with that person.
Right.
I'm going to be managing them almost 100% with exercise. They
Hmm.
don't need my time. They
Right.
need my decision-making process. They
Hmm.
need to know when to progress depth. They need to know that I have the skill to tell them, we're going to put you on a heavy, slow resistance protocol. They need to know that my skill set knows that at around 6 to 8 weeks, they're going to start feeling better, but we still have another 6 to 4 weeks left in the loading protocol because we
Sure.
don't want to take half the course of the antibiotics, right? We need that
Hmm.
cellular time for the tissues to adapt. They
Right.
need to know that once they feel better, the next problem that they're going to need is reintegrating to cyclic activities, things that are tendon breakdown mechanisms. Like, I don't need to be face to face with you in person,
Hmm.
taking your time away as well when you could just be doubling up at the gym.
Sure.
So for me, it was really just leaning into this concept that, like, hey, my time isn't what makes me valuable. It's what's in my brain.
Right.
It's knowing that Betty is hypermobile and maybe she'll benefit better from repeating the same exercise program for 2 weeks instead of progressing it every week. That could
Right.
be that could literally be the thing that changes her tolerance to strength training.
Okay. So how a lot of people will ask, how do you manage the asynchronous portion? Because you brought up how that you are actually increasing touch points,
Yep.
but it would seem I think a lot of people wonder how much time does it take to manage those asynchronous touch points, and what are you doing if there is a problem?
Yeah, good question. So the one thing that we don't want to do,
Hmm.
and this is another common thing that we see because again, PTs are they're just kind of tunnel vision in how we have priced our services. We
Right.
don't want to see you trade 1 hour in the clinic for 1 hour in front of the computer. There's
Right.
no efficiency mechanism there, right?
Right.
So what we want to make sure that we do is that we're at least getting you 2, 3, 4, 5x for your prescriptive exercise programming process.
Got it.
So for me, it probably takes 20 to 30 minutes to create a program because it's not going to be full strength and conditioning. It's going
Hmm.
to be to solve a specific problem. So it's not going to be like a super long program. It's going to
Hmm.
be very specific.
Is
And
it
then
patient specific or problem specific?
both.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Both. Because like you may need to be progressed on a 10-day cycle where somebody else may need to be a 7-day cycle, where someone else may need to be a 14-day cycle.
Okay.
But again, like we do have some protocols that we use if somebody has, tendinopathy, for example. We have some protocols that we use from Tim Gabbett's research for how much volume we want to progress. So we do actually have evidence-based concepts in our program, in our course as well.
Sure.
But then from there, it's not crazy to say that like every week is going to take me less than 10 minutes to manage because I'm just looking at the touch points. I have processes and procedures in place where if issues do come up, there's ways that they can red flag alert me, right? There's ways that they can ping me and say, hey, this happened. And I'm always going to structure it so that I'm reviewing the program before I make my progressions in the next week.
Sure.
So I am not somebody who programs out, 4 to 6 weeks at a time. I like to program monthly. I like
Sure.
to do my programming on Monday. So I set up my weeks Monday to Monday, and then I
Mhm.
can make my progressions from there on out.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like you guys, as part of your system, have developed an app of some kind that these people will use to create those touch points and be able to communicate you with as needed.
We just use off the shelf stuff, right? So like most of our clients are using True Coach.
Okay.
Some clients use Train Heroic.
Okay.
We also generally position this portion of the offer as a performance and wellness
Got it.
portion. So it kind of separates from the medical side, the PT side. And it just creates a little less friction for management of that process. And what we say is, like, when we do this, we are managing part of their exercise program. The byproduct tends to be that they get out of pain.
Okay. Got it. So, um, we'll answer this question. I'll kind of recap and we'll I think I really only have one or two more questions. So what you said that these PEPs, these prescriptive exercise programs, are recurring revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Are they recurring weekly, monthly, quarterly? Kind of what is the general recurring cycle, and kind of what are you paying for it, like a plan? Like,
Yeah.
can you talk more about kind of how that's charged and how often and what it is?
Generally, depending on, again, how comfortable the person is at sales, we see it anywhere from $200 to $500 a month.
Okay.
It's going to go monthly.
Okay.
I have no problem if somebody wanted to break up the payments weekly. Again, it kind of goes into that concept of, like, what can we do to make this work?
Mhm.
That just would depend on how you have it set up. I generally do recommend that you get a 3-month commitment, even if it's on that monthly program, because, like, we just need enough time to build chronic workload. And we need enough time to, we need 4 weeks to establish it. And then we need to progress it to the point. So the further we are away from their goal, the
Mhm.
longer somebody is going to be on a PEP,
Got
right?
it.
So that's generally how we would structure it.
And is anyone going on a PEP that you have not evaluated? Like, is anyone like, hey, Ray, I heard you are just the shiz, man. Like, I want your PEP. Like, get me on it. Um,
Yes.
okay, so that is a thing. So
Yep.
how are you deciding like what they need if you don't have to evaluate them?
So, like I said, I mean, part of what I've done in my journey has been working with, clients all over the world doing this process, right?
Sure.
And so we essentially structure assessments where the information is just gathered asynchronously. So, like, I
Hmm.
would do it even without, like, a Zoom call where we're
Okay.
trading time. I'd basically have a call with you. You would tell me what's going on. That's me collecting the subjective. I'd say,
Mhm.
okay, Nate, over the course of the next week or 10 days, I'm going to be deploying a series of tests that I'm
Mhm.
going to put into your account. I want to see you hinge. I want to see you squat. I want to have you do a step up test, a side plank test. And
Mhm.
then I'm going to take that data and I'm going to create a program.
Got it.
Now, are most of our clients doing that now? No, I'd say probably about 15 to 20% of them run that process.
Sure.
Most of our clients are doing some sort of in-person process that then transitions into a virtual offer. I think that's just, again, I talked about building a virtual business. Like, that's a completely different beast. But I do recommend, if you're going to build a virtual business, you build it off a local footprint.
Sure. Okay. So let me kind of look at the questions that people wanted me to ask. So, recap, as far as I can tell, and I will try to overview your system as best I can in case people have gotten lost. I know it's sometimes hard to organize it. Find a place to be. Meet
Mhm.
people, talk to people, get a space where you can practice physically. You are not going to quit your job. You will keep that job while at this business you establish an LLC. establish your own malpractice insurance, maybe use Google Docs to establish some documentation, or PT Everywhere. You're not really going to worry about healthcare right now because that's being provided through your other job. And it's like at a certain point, you're going to get 5 clients that you're primarily going to get through building a network of at least 500 potential patients, primarily through gyms is what it's sounding like.
Mostly gyms, run clubs, things like that.
Yeah,
Where's your ideal
fitness
client?
group?
Correct.
Yeah, fitness groups.
Correct.
You're going to get those 5 clients. You're going to build up these clients. Essentially, you're going to do an evaluation. It's going to cost the most. Sell packages of 6 to 10. You are going to build up to where you're making probably a couple to $2,000 to $3,000, and then you're going to hit a barrier where I need to stop trading my time for money at work so that I can multiply my time and money in a cash-based practice. You will make that transition. You will essentially be seeing 4 to 6 people or more, depending on if you're doing 45 or hour-long sessions in person. You ideally want to get them on an asynchronous prescriptive exercise program early on while there's still a gap in how they feel and how they're doing. You will monitor them quite easily through these apps that you will coach them how to use asynchronously while you take them through in-person visits that will be based on your ability to progress them. Now that you are not at your job, you will need healthcare, but if you're making more money, who cares what that costs? You won't get CEU coverage, but who cares what that costs because you're making more money? You can either continue to use Google Docs or whatever, and you essentially grow the practice both in person, evals and packages, and concurrently prescriptive exercise programs with the same people. And then every now and again, you may get people who are just wanting to do a virtual or a prescriptive exercise program. It's going to be on a prescription basis of monthly $200 to $500. You're generally going to look at minimum 3 months of a commitment to build up the program you want to use. And you'll essentially do a telehealth visit where you'll get a subjective. You will send them assessments that they will do so that you can watch them or assess them remotely. You'll create the program. They will continue to pay you. You'll be managing in-person clients and digital clients, and you will be able to live the life of your dreams, make lots of money, and live whatever life you'd like. Does that feel like an accurate description of the system you like to coach people into?
That's really good. That's good stuff.
Okay, great. So I think the biggest question that a lot of people are wondering, as particularly the risk averse people, is what separates the ones who continue to grow and succeed versus the ones that kind of sputter out and they just end up becoming a prisoner to their own baby, so to speak, as opposed to, which is essentially what they were trying to get out of in the first place.
I think learning sales skills is really the most important thing that people need in this side of the business. I think that most of the people that come to us are already really good clinicians. Mm-hmm. They kind of see that what they do is different, than what everyone else does. So the problem that we generally see is they're spending too much of their resources becoming a better clinician when that's not the problem. They can't get and close clients to work with them.
Right.
The tie into that is also that they're generally not charging enough. They're charging $90 to $100 a session. They think that that's going to be good, but it's not enough. And they're generally doing that because that's what their clinic does, right? It's everybody's cash rate is $90 for whatever reason. And it just doesn't work that way when you're building the business. And then lastly is they don't ask for help when they need it, and they stay stuck in the struggle because they think that they can't afford help. And that is a mindset that they stay stuck in. And so you've got to, look, I invest in my business every month. I am constantly have a coach. I've paid a lot for sales training. I've invested in the deficits that I had to make sure that this thing could become a reality. Like there wasn't a number I wasn't willing to figure out how to pay for that. That's the big difference there.
Awesome. So, and really for anyone listening, being better, like becoming better is not a cheap process.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Right. And if you hear that lapping sound, our giant Saint Bernard is thirsty, so I will give her a brief second.
Just got home from a walk and is ready to drink.
Yeah, my wife is nice enough to take her on little strolls while we have these conversations.
Nice.
Daisy, there will be more water later, I promise. So yeah, because realistically, like good life coaches, good therapists, good doctors, like everyone wants them, and therefore they will not be cheap.
Yeah.
And so you have to understand that investing in the best for yourself will mean investing the best money,
yeah.
which is hard for a lot of people to swallow because again, it's a mindset. It's a mindset of I'm not sure how you describe it. You've interacted with it more. How would you describe that mindset?
This is a good way that I like to look at it. If you're one of those people that thinks I can't afford it for whatever reason, the way that you need to shift your mindset around that is, what if you couldn't afford to not do it?
Sure.
Like you've got to shift back around, because remember, the reason that you're in the situation that you're in is because you keep telling yourself you can't afford it. So how do you figure out a way to be able to afford it? How do you figure out a way to trust that you will put in the work to get the outcome, to make the money, to change your situation? Like it really, I know it sounds cliche, but it really is just all mindset. And sometimes you have to make that leap before you're ready.
Sure. So for anyone listening, you're like, well, I've never thought that I can't afford a practice. It's like, but you have, because you've said, I can't afford to lose a half hour of sleep to start building a business model. I can't afford to, take an hour to do something else that will be for my greater gain. Like I can't afford you in some way or another, you are choosing time, comfort, or some other priority that is taking priority over this goal of what you want your life to be. And you're going to have to accept that if you want to change that.
What's the saying? Easy choices now, hard life later. Hard choices now, easy life later. Right? It's just delaying that gratification. That's really what it comes down to.
Right. So for anyone wondering, I mean, Ray, would you be comfortable saying how much your services charge? It's okay if you're not.
I prefer. I always prefer that we have that conversation with people, because I feel like it always lacks context.
Absolutely.
Of what makes the offer valuable to that person. And everybody says like, oh, you just don't want to be transparent with your pricing. That's not really what it is. It's that I want the people that we're interacting with to really understand what they're getting for the investment that they're making. And I honestly feel like it does a disservice to people, even when we're talking about our price points with clients. It's like, hey, before we even talk about pricing, like I need to make sure that we can even help you, because if we can't, pricing becomes irrelevant. So it's not to hide anything. It's just to say that, look, if you want to have the conversation, we want to make sure that we help you understand what will make this offer valuable specifically to you.
Oh, absolutely. So for anyone, again, to Ray's point, if you walked up to someone and they're like, hey, are you a physical therapist? And you said, yep. How much do you charge? I charge $1,500 for 10 sessions. They'd say, no, thanks.
Yeah.
Because again, you haven't got a chance to show how valuable you are for the money that they would pay.
It's immediately commoditized, right? It's immediately compared to physical therapy as they know it, without you being able to establish an emotional connection to their problem, without you being able to unpack why they need your solution in the first place, without you being able to demonstrate how you could even help. It just lacks so much context.
Yeah, agreed. Let me see if I have any other questions that I was asked to include. Bless you. Good. Last question. Do you find that your business will help people learn how to use AI more effectively with these problems that you see people running into?
Yeah, I mean, we don't teach people how to use AI for the client management side of the
Mhm.
business, but we do teach them how to leverage AI for the content side of the business.
Got it.
So we do have some, AI. I don't even integration. I mean, it's not like it's
Mhm.
integrated. We just teach you how to use it. The thing that I'll say about AI, like you have to do a lot of work first
Mhm.
before you can rely on AI to do work for you. So, like, for
Sure.
example, I have a 72-page document that has every Instagram caption I've personally written for the last year.
Okay.
I can now upload that into some sort of AI software and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, write an Instagram caption like me
Mhm.
with this as the topic." And
Sure.
it gives me at least a framework.
Sure.
So it makes my life easier, but I had to front load all the work that I did, to make it to understand. And I think too, the thing that I'll say is because I did all that work, I am so clear on who my client is, what the problems my client has, and how we solve it for them. So if you're just going to go to AI for content creation, I don't think it's going to land because it's not actually going to feel unique to your consumer.
Right. And again, it sounds like maybe we'll end on this. It sounds like this is the main theme of our conversation. You will have to front load difficult, uncomfortable, large amounts of work
Yeah.
if you want this to become the dream that you hope it can be.
But the cool thing is the more that you do it, the easier it gets.
Absolutely.
That's like anything, right? I mean, what content processes that used to take me 2.5, 3 hours, now I can get them done in 30 minutes, right? Just because the process is so clear. And you really just the hardest part for people is like they don't want to sound like a broken record.
Mhm.
The whole goal is to sound like a broken record. You got to just keep same message, different ways over and over and over again.
Right. Well, Ray, thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you would like to end with, as well as obviously you had put engage movement. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
we established that. Ray's company is engage movement.
Yes.
For anyone who is listening, not watching, why don't you end with whatever you'd like to say, Ray, as well as any way these people could contact you, um, and we can wrap up with that.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about like getting a business started and what that actually looks like. We actually have a free checklist on our website that any of your listeners can download. Just head over to engagemovement.com. It's literally on our main landing page. Our business starter checklist is there. It's a great resource just to kind of give you an idea of what you need to do to kind of get things started.
Mhm.
Um, we also have a bunch of trainings on our website too, if you want to watch and learn more about what we do. And then if you have questions for me, I'm an open book on Instagram. So shoot me a follow over there, shoot me a DM. That's just at Ray Gorman DPT. And if we're not the right company to help you, we'd be happy to make a recommendation to somebody who is. So yeah.
Okay. Well, excellent. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And again, I mean, that's how I got in contact with Ray. I saw one of his ads. I thought it sounded like something that people would want to hear more about. I shot him an Instagram message, and honestly, it didn't even take long. Within a couple of days, Ray had messaged me back.
Yeah, and
Um,
that was just because you ended up in like the request folder, and I
yeah,
had gotten out of the habit of checking that one, but now I'm back in the habit of it. So
cool. So, thank you, everybody. Again, thanks for joining us, Ray, and everybody, take care. Thanks.
thanks, Nate.
Thanks again for listening, guys. As always, if you wouldn't mind subscribing or commenting or leaving a rating, it helps us get better viewership, gets us higher up on search histories or searches. Um, and as always, guys, we know you're just trying to do your best, so thanks for that, and happy to have you.